Today, we're going to discuss fashion. And as you may or may not know, Indonesia has plenty of fashion designers that are currently spreading their wings in the international market. Most recently, 7 Indonesian fashion designers all took part in the New York Fashion Week. The youngest of them was Kimberly Tandra, who showed off her newest collection from her brand called Sweetsen. Let's have a look. Tandra created the Sweetsen brand in 2019, and several collections were on display at the 2023 New York Fashion Week. Unlike 2019, Tandra this season is showing a feminine design that uses eco-friendly materials. Tandra was inspired by Indonesia's signature flowers, the hibiscus flower and moon orchid. She also wants to highlight the beauty of Indonesian women to the world. The 2023 Lineage Spring-Summer Collection engages Sweetsen's signature style and feminine cuts and embraces timeless events that are very much in touch with today's modern beauty. And without any further ado, I have so many questions. We have with us here, joining us in the studio, Kimberly Tandra. Hi, Kimberly. Thank you for joining us today. So the fact that we've all gotten our antigen tested and been vaccinated and boosted against COVID-19, we can remove our masks.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of questions for you. But in the meantime, let's start off by when and how did you get into the fashion industry to begin with?
Actually, being a fashion designer is actually my childhood dream.
Okay, when you were little.
Yeah, when I was in high school, actually.
Okay.
So I started a mini business for teddy bears, and
Okay.
I made and designed clothing for them, actually, at first.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because my father and my mother didn't approve it at first, so I have to save up money and buy my own sewing machine at first. So it was my childhood dream until on my 17th birthday. You know, like the traditional Indonesian birthday, like you throw a party with your friends.
Right.
And I have a fashion show
Oh, you did?
there. And
All
it
your own
opened,
designs?
Yeah,
Really?
it opened a lot of opportunities for me from there.
Okay. So from there, you decided this is what I want to do. I mean, everyone has dreams, but did you ever think that one day you'd be at New York Fashion Week of all places?
Actually, I never think about it at first.
Okay.
Yeah. The first fashion week, I was 19 years old. It was overwhelming for me. I have a lot of pressure and stress, but actually I was happy at the same time.
Right.
Because it's actually my passion.
Sure.
But like being the youngest, I actually have some pressure because my seniors, like other designers to mention like Prio Octaviano, Vivi Zubedi, Coretta Lewis, they all have a lot of experience.
They're established.
Yeah, they're established.
Right.
So I have to make sure that I came there not only as the youngest, but I also have the same quality in terms of design, garments, finishings, and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we get into discussing the collection that you brought, you know, you mentioned being the youngest with others around you that perhaps have experienced this before.
Yep.
What was that experience like for you? I mean, obviously you look up to some of them as well. They are seniors in your industry. What was that like, that experience, being able to go there, and did you share ideas? What sort of things took place?
It was a great experience. Actually, I learned a lot from them by talking to them.
Okay.
Talking about their experience, and also learn a lot in terms of their working culture and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's nice, I suppose, to have those that have kind of more experience so that they're able to, you can just follow their lead. So you have, tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind the collection that you brought this year.
So the title of my collection is Lineage. When you translate it into Indonesian language, it means garis keturunan.
Right, correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm actually inspired by my own line of heritage.
So it's family lineage that
Yeah.
you're discussing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm inspired by my maternal heritage from Jawa Timur, Surabaya, and from my paternal heritage, which is Tanimbar. Maluku Tenggara.
Oh, wow.
It's an island in Maluku Tenggara, actually.
It's a very unique combination.
Yeah.
Okay.
So actually, in terms of silhouette, finishings, detail, and embroidery, I'm inspired by the two of them.
Okay.
Because actually, in our group show, Indonesia Now, we want to highlight diversity. So the 6 designers, we have to choose from different continents in different, not continents, but different
regions.
islands in Indonesia.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so that was part of it. Like you all have to choose something. It
Yeah.
cannot be something that's overlapping.
Yeah.
That's interesting as well. So what was it like when you finally were able to showcase your collection? What was the feedback like, and how was it in comparison with others that you saw on the show this year?
Okay, actually, on my first New York Fashion Week experience when I was 19,
You were 19 at
yeah, the first time.
Okay.
The feedback was very great. When I came out from the show, there was a buyer approaching me, and she wants to buy my jacket for $3,000
Oh my
US
goodness,
dollars.
right away on the spot.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's a lot
good
of
sign.
money.
That's a good sign.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so what sort of things would they say about your collection?
Actually, they really appreciate the craftsmanship from Indonesia. I also mentioned to them, like in France, I studied fashion in Paris actually, right? So in Paris, there's something called haute couture. When you sew everything by hand, you make everything by hand.
Right.
And I told them also that in Indonesia, you have something similar to couture.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, when you make traditional fabric like batik, it takes you like years to make.
It has to be handmade.
Yeah, so I told them it's the same thing, but not everyone knew about it.
Okay, so that's interesting how you were, I mean, you've had education abroad in Europe when it comes to this, but in fact, to certain things, actually, we do kind of the same, very similarly. Okay, so tell us about Sweetson brand.
Okay, so Sweatson is actually amalgamation of my parents' name.
Ah, okay. Now, you draw a lot of inspiration from your family.
Yeah, because actually, at first, my parents don't want me to be a fashion designer.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
When did that turn around? Like, when did they decide, like, okay, maybe you can go down this career path, because obviously you're quite successful at it.
Actually, when I was in high school, I told you about my business and everything. So I really make sure that my parents know that I'm serious about this industry.
Right, okay.
Because like a lot of people just take fashion for their side job, just for
It's
their
just a fad,
hobby.
a phase, and then they get over it. All
Yeah,
right.
so I just want to let my parents know that I really want to work on this field.
And eventually they saw your passion for it. That's great. So what is the brand itself? Like when you came up with Sweetson, what was the idea behind it? We know the inspiration, but what is the idea behind it and what are you trying to achieve? Because you are going towards a more eco-friendly, I mentioned, approach when it comes to fashion. And we do know that fashion in some ways can be, especially fast fashion, can be quite damaging to the environment.
Okay, when I first started Sweatson, I told my team and everyone that I want to highlight Indonesian flowers because I really like flowers to begin with. Yep, so drawing inspiration, Sweatson always takes inspiration from Indonesian flowers because we have Sweatson flower print, our signature print. Yep. So we want to create clothes for Indonesian women at first. So when they wear it, they will feel proud and they will like showcase their heritage at first. Yeah.
Of course. So that's actually good thinking behind it as well, because we're always trying to showcase our heritage or our culture, but a lot of times we fall back on the same ideas all the time, like batik, because then people will know batik is from Indonesia. But when we talk about fashion trends, they do change from year to year. What is it like for you? How are you influenced and how do you draw inspiration from season to season or year to year when it comes to changing trends in fashion?
Okay, so actually when it comes to trends, I always follow the color trends at first.
Okay.
But for the silhouette, for the embroidery and everything, I also have some in-house signature for the Sweatson flowers. So I just have to adjust it a little bit with the trends and how to apply it. For example, this season, I don't apply that much embroidery on my dress because this is the spring-summer season. We want it to be a little bit light and everything.
Like more casual.
So I put the embroidery like on the colors and everything. So I just have to adjust it.
Really nice. Yeah, I guess that's the other thing. When you already have a certain character, you have an idea behind your brand, then all you're doing is you're adjusting accordingly. So, let's talk a little bit about how local brands have grown, especially in fashion. I mean, if you talk about culinary or arts, many things have gone international. But fashion in particular, we're seeing foreign brands showcasing our styles of pattern on the runway, and now we're seeing our own people on the runway as well. What do you think about the development of local designers, as well as fashion locally, as well as how we export it internationally as well?
I think in terms of internationally, Indonesia have grown their exposure. Compared to my first Fashion Week experience in New York, there is more exposure this year towards Indonesian fashion industry.
So people
there.
are more aware of Indonesia.
They are more interested and aware to Indonesian fashion industry there.
Okay.
So I think they are developing quite good.
Yeah, okay. I get what you
Fashion,
you mean.
Yeah.
What is the impression for, let's say, a foreign designer? What are their impressions of what Indonesian fashion is like, do you think?
That's kind of hard question.
Yeah, it is, because you have to ask them, wouldn't you? But what has it been like for you when you interact with the rest of the fashion world out there? What impression do you get that they're feeling about us and our fashion?
Very interested with how we make our traditional fabric,
Okay.
how we create our silhouette and everything. Because actually when you go through clothings, it's kind of different when you look into like European made brand and Indonesian made brand.
How so?
In terms of embroidery, finishing, I think it's kind of different
Okay.
with the technique and everything. So when I talk to them, they're interested on how I make things, how I'm inspired by things here and there. So
Well, I
it's
guess they'd
different.
have to move here to be inspired here, because
Yeah,
that's how
it's
people draw
different.
their inspiration. Okay, so what would be your wishes? I mean, obviously we have gone so far, but there's still so much ground to cover, so much potential that we can still grow to become in the fashion industry here, and your wishes for yourself and your brand in particular for the future.
Actually, the wish is also the same for every brand in Indonesia, that we can grow internationally, not only having a fashion show abroad, but we can have like a store abroad or to sell things abroad.
Yeah, it's true, yeah, because that would be the real idea of going international, isn't it? It's not just a showcase, but you've actually got, who knows, like a brick or mortar in like Europe. That would be great. Is that your dream one day, that you'll perhaps get a sweet store? What would be, if I was to ask you, if you had to choose a city anywhere around the world where you could open your very first store, where would it be?
Of course, Paris has
Yeah,
always been a very emotional city for me because I
course.
used to study there.
Right, so that would be a perfect spot for you.
Yeah.
Well, we hope that your wishes do come true.